like this is a new side of like Gilius, like this soft and tender side. Has this always been there? Has this like just always been lurking in the background, not seen by the world? Because I like all the stuff on you online is definitely not, oh, like Gilius is a soft and caring and compassionate person. He's like, well, you're garbage, right? Like that's what the internet thinks. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Deep Dives into the Minds of Esports. My name is Blake Panashevitz, and today's guest is a longtime veteran of the League of Legends scene. He has played for teams such as SK Gaming, Unicorns of Love, Giants Gaming, Team Vitality, and now is the jungler for German team Ad Hoc Gaming. Please let me introduce Erberk Demir, maybe better known as Gilius. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
So I'm excited to have you on the show. You are I would say a hot topic individual as far as like sometimes your opinions and your outspokenness, which I don't know if this is just something that I get from EU people. I had Amazing on the show. He's another person who was very outspoken, and I think I love that about people. It's a very unique trait to be this outspoken. So I always start the show off quite easy before we get into like your life and everything about that. So this outspokenness, is this something that you think is a good thing for esports or a bad thing? And do you think it's a good thing for you or a bad thing?
It definitely has its pros and cons, I would say. I'm a kind of guy, I can be brutally honest, or I can filter what I think or say. And sometimes in my career, I thought it's best if I'm honest all the time and just speak a lot about things, and sometimes it was better to just be quiet and listen. And nowadays I'm kind of a mixture, you know, like I try to be more quiet and listen a lot, and then when I have a really good point I just bring it up. But on Twitter I'm kind of I'm just saying whatever I want.
You're saying whatever you want on Twitter. Do you have to worry about teams kind of looking at this in a bad way? Do teams ever look at this and realize that this is just almost like an act like I'm imagining you can work with teammates because you've been on teams. So like the stuff that you put out there, is that mostly show?
I mean, it's a lot of memes and jokes most of the time. Sometimes I mean something serious, and then it's just a mixture, like depends on my mood on the day. If I'm on a funny mood, I make funny tweets. If I'm on a mood where I want to comment on a game or something that I think should be the way I think, then I like to open discussions in my Twitter. And I think it depends on the organization I'm working with. Like Ad Hoc really loves it that I'm really active on social media. And then there's some teams that say be a bit like more quiet on social media, and I think that's also totally fine. I'm not a big social media guy. I just like right now I feel like the fans like the tweets and I like the interaction, so I'm tweeting more. But I also have some months where I don't tweet at all.
Okay. So this entertainment side, it doesn't really get talked about a lot in esports. Like the idea that you're out there, you're obviously playing a game, and that game is competitive, and that's one aspect to it. But the other aspect is the fact that everyone wants to watch this game and they want to see this entertainment and this almost like fighting with each other. And you only get that if people are actually socializing. Do you think that teams should be like encouraging more people to actually go out there and be this like major personality that's going to talk and throw shade and all that?
I don't think so, because it carries a lot of pressure with it. If you speak a lot, you have to back it up, basically. And the backlash is really big. So you have to, some persons like to just be quiet on social media, do no interviews, and then just perform on stage. And then I am usually like that as well. But I'm just feeling like sometimes some banter can be good for the fans, because when I played in the ULCS, it was like ULCS was being streamed and then NA was coming right after, and they would like triple or double our viewer counts, because I would see I would probably play game 1 on a day, and then I would see game 5 or game 4. I would see the viewer count, and I thought to myself, we're doing so well. why am I not doing like some tweets so everyone sees it? Like the reach becomes bigger of the league.
Yeah.
And so it just depends on the person, I would say.
Okay, I mean, I think that that's completely fair. So this kind of like being able to be an outspoken person, were you always like this? Was this someone that you've always been someone who's able to outspeak, or is this something you've kind of grown into?
I was always like this, at least in real life, like with my friends and with my family. But when I was around other people, I was never like this. Like I played sports for the most of my childhood, like football, tennis, these kinds of things. I was even a football referee. And when I was around other people, I'm usually just a normal person. And but like hyping up things definitely became something I grew into, because I saw in other sports, as example, like interviews before the game, and it was much more fun to watch than in an esports, like the game right after. So I thought I would just try it out, and people always tell me to do it, so I guess I just
that's fair.
sticking to it.
So you're on a German team now. Where are you originally from?
What do you mean?
Are you from Germany? Like, where'd you grow up?
Yeah, I was born in Germany and like raised and was here since the start. But like both my parents are Turkish.
Oh, okay. How do you end up in Germany then? Did they travel to Germany?
I think my mother basically was in Turkey till she was 16, and then she went with her parents to Germany because they found work here.
Okay.
And then my father was in love with my mom, and she was then already older. She was in Germany already, so he just followed her when she was like 18 or 19, and then they started a new life in Germany.
Okay, so what did your parents do growing up?
My father is he's a creative person. I mean, he has had different kinds of jobs, like restaurants. For some time he had a hotel. For some time he was selling, how's it called in English, like porcelain.
Like pots and pans?
Yeah, like plates basically, but like porcelain.
Yeah, like kitchen Tupperware and stuff like that. I think that's what we mostly call it, yeah.
That's what he did mostly in Germany. So, yeah.
Okay.
And yeah, my mom was always with him. Oh, yeah. Different kind of jobs. Like my father didn't have only one thing. He always tried new stuff.
Okay. So what was it like growing up in Germany for you? I have to ask, what is the language? Because you mentioned that your family's from Turkey. Is the language Turkish from Turkey?
Yeah.
Do you know how to speak Turkish?
Yeah, I do. Pretty good, actually.
Okay, I wasn't sure because like a lot of families move. So like my family was originally from Poland, like a few generations back, and they moved over during World War II. But my grandfather killed our language. He was like, we're not going to speak it. We're going to be fully Americanized. We're going to fully integrate into the American culture. And you get families that kind of do that, but it sounds like your at least some of your culture, at least your language, was maintained when they kind of moved over. Did you have any other Turkish traditions that are kind of cool that you guys do?
The interesting thing is in Germany, there's a lot of Turkish people.
Yeah.
So as example, in our neighborhood, there's Turkish families. We know them. We visit them. They visit us. And we had like some people, like people in my family, were also living close to us where we lived. So like you kind of had a family in Germany as a Turkish family.
Okay.
And yeah, Turkish food. My mom cooks Turkish food every day, and yeah, it's great. That's the tradition I remember the most. Yeah.
Okay, I have to ask you. So there's a food in the Chronicles of Narnia. I don't know if you've ever read it or watched the movie. I think it's called Turkish Delight. Is that what it's called? Maybe.
Yeah.
Is that an actual Turkish food? Is that real?
I'm not sure actually, but I watched the movie, and I was confused at that time as well. But I think it's just called like that.
So if you had to pick like a Turkish food that would like if you had to give it to someone who's never had Turkish food before, and you were like, okay, I want to really impress them, and this is the food that I'm going to give them to eat, what would you pick?
It's a rough one because when I'm in Turkish restaurants, I'm also lost on the menu.
You're like, I don't know.
Like, I just like everything. Like,
okay.
What you can expect from Turkish food is meat, rice, spicy food sometimes. It just depends, honestly, where you are, what you want. Many different things, but Turkish soups are really nice. And then I would recommend a meal with meat. Yeah.
A meal with meat. That's.
I mean, I like them all. I can't choose right now.
That's fair.
I'm pretty bad at recommending
food
things as well.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I think that's understandable. So, I've learned a little bit about the German school system, kind of going there, only because I've had a few German guests now. I think you might be my fourth or fifth. You know, I think Germany's honestly, believe it or not, Germany might be my top country for guests. Out of like 50-something episodes, I think a 10th of my guests have been German. So, or for Germany. So.
I mean, we are really interesting people, I think.
So far you are. So Germany isn't that big of a country, right? It's not like that. Where did you grow up in Germany?
In Cologne.
Okay, you grew up in Cologne. Actually, you might be the first person from Cologne I've had on the show. So what is Cologne like?
Cologne, very nice city. A lot to see, a lot to do, and I would say more expensive city. So there's a difference between like there's some neighborhoods that are really good and some bad ones.
Did you live in a good neighborhood or a bad neighborhood?
A good one, yeah, a really good one.
Okay.
Thank God.
Okay.
And I mean, I found out like I was not the kind of guy who went out a lot, you know. I was basically just going to school every day, and then after school I would go play football or I would play tennis. Like for like 5 or 6 years I played football, and then I got bored of it. I started playing tennis, and then I realized that a solo sport is really boring for me personally. And then I just went all in on League of Legends, and most of my time in Cologne I spent in front of my PC, honestly, and just grinding League because I didn't like school that much. I was just like tired every day. So.
Okay, interesting. Being tired every day. Was there any reason for that?
Yeah, I'm not that great at waking up super early. Waking up at 6 or 7 because I like to stay up at night and do stuff. I don't know. In the night, I'm a night person. You know, there's some morning persons and then there's some evening persons, I would say. And school didn't really fit me because of that.
I think that's probably fair. So, growing up during school, what kind of student were you in school? Were you going to a really good school too? Because you mentioned you lived in a good area. So I guess that should be the first question.
Yeah, I went to the, I think, second best gymnasium in Cologne. Yeah. And the problem is I went to a mathematics school where you have to learn physics and chemistry. I don't know the English chemistry, like chemistry, chemics? No.
Oh, chemistry?
Chemistry, exactly.
Yeah, you said chemics, and I was like, oh, you must mean chemistry.
Yeah, and the school next to it, the also good one, was a language school. And I was a person that was more interested into languages. And like mathematics was boring for me, and like physics. So my school time, instead of taking French, I took Latin. Big mistake.
I was gonna say, I can't imagine that ever being a useful language ever.
Yeah, I grew up with video games a lot because my big brother, he's always had a PlayStation or a GameCube. So I didn't really do my homework. I was late to school every day, and then when I was successful in League when I was 17, I was skipping a lot of days in school. So I would say I was not a good student.
How did your parents take that? I know a lot of parents tend to be very hard on their children, especially like if you look at like older esports players, because esports wasn't, because you've been playing for like 6 years now or something like ridiculously long, right? Like SK Gaming Prime was in 2014, so that's 5 years ago, right? So that's a long time, and esports has definitely grown significantly, even in like 5 years. It's kind of insane how much esports has grown. What did your parents think about you not doing well in school? Did you have like routine conversations with them, or were they just like, you know what, it's your life, you get to do whatever you want?
Yeah, the thing is, my mom is very open-minded.
Mm-hmm.
The way she thinks is like her parents didn't let her do what she wanted.
Yeah.
So she wants to let her kids do what they want.
Mm-hmm.
And then, I mean, they didn't like it because it was such a risky path back then.
Yeah.
I was asking the people, how long is this gonna last? They would always say, League of Legends is dead in 1 year. Like even the people working there,
Mm-hmm.
it's not gonna go anywhere. Blah blah. So when I promoted with Unicorns of Love, the promotion match with Millennium was in Cologne.
Yeah.
So my parents came to watch, and that was like kind of the day where they were like, wow, this is great. Our son is having a lot of fun, and you can actually make, like, after that match, they knew I'm going to LA. So, and then I came back from the promotion match. I won. They were super happy. And then I told them, I know I just skipped school for 1 week, but I have to travel to Taiwan in 2 days for the World Championship. And then they said, you never told us about this. They were shocked, angry, disappointed. I told them, fine. I have to do it. The team cannot play if I don't go. So I flew to Taiwan alone as a 17 years old kid. I had no idea what I'm doing. And so that's where it all started, basically. And then I got to play out of a mistake from Sanskaren. And then they saw me playing on the stage. And then after that day I could go all in, basically.
Okay. Did you end up finishing school? Because I know you were getting big in League at like 17. That'd be very hard doing well in League to actually maintain League without having to step down or drop out.
The problem is in Germany, you have to, there were new rules for school that you have to finish till a certain grade.
Yep.
And then after I was done with Unicorns and SK, I got an offer. Like basically, so you want the full story?
Yeah,
Like what
let's go into from the beginning.
All right, so Unicorns took another jungler. That's what everyone knows.
Mm-hmm.
And then I thought to myself, I'm gonna just make my own team and just promote to the LCS.
Yeah.
Like I was a kind of guy who never gives up, like just try something. So we made a roster and we qualified for the Challenger Series.
Yeah.
And the team we knocked out was G2. So it was Perks and his crew. And then after that game, Ocelot bought the team. So we beat them, and then they bought the Challenger Series spot. And it was perfect because it's a great organization back then. And Ocelot was kind of like my role model, I was watching a stream every day. And then in order to play in G2, I had to move to Spain with 17. Like I'm 17 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And then I said to Ocelot, I cannot move to a gaming house. I have to finish this year of school. Then he said, I don't know where this idea came from. Ocelot said, there's a private school in Madrid, a German private school. We can just pay you the school. You play here from the gaming house and you just go to school every day. And I was like, wow, that's fucking amazing. And it was the nice gaming house, the villa, with the pool. And then, my parents I don't know. Ocelot, yeah, he said it's gonna work out. I came there, and then I had to go to the school for the first day to sign up, and Ocelot came with me, like my big brother, talked with the principal. This is what he does here. This is why he's coming to the school. And honestly, my stay in the school in Madrid after Ocelot talked to the principal was really enjoyable. And yeah, that's basically how it went down.
That is pretty surreal. So let's go through that. Let's go through your original school first, right? The school that you were at for so long. What was that like? What was that school like for you? Did you have lots of friends there? You mentioned that you pretty much just did football and went to school. What was that first school before you moved to Madrid like?
I mean, I was always kind of the class clown, and I had many friends in my school, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Did you get in trouble a lot?
Did I get into trouble?
Class clowns tend to get in trouble a lot. That's why I'm asking.
The trouble I was getting into is just like having to go in front of the door for like 5 or 10 minutes.
Yeah.
When I didn't stop trolling the teacher. That was basically the limit. But like, I don't know, we were in Cologne. I can imagine every school class is like super troll and hard to deal with for teachers.
Mm-hmm.
It was just a fun time, but like when I was 16 or 17, school became less fun because it was becoming more like I had to do homework. I had to do well in the how's it called, Klausuren,
Classes?
the important in the classes, yeah. And that's where it became no fun because I was like staying up all night playing League and then going sleepy to school. And then that's why I remember school such a dark way. But overall, school was fun.
Okay, so I want to ask about getting into like League of Legends. So one of the things that I've noticed with professional players, like just in general, like either ones I've worked with or people I've done interviews with, is there's normally like an age where like video games, like the amount of time that you're playing in video games tends to drastically increase. You mentioned quitting tennis and kind of dedicate. So basically, all the time you put into tennis, you basically reallocated strictly to League. When did that happen?
When did that happen? So I was always playing, like, I don't know, there was a shift from sports to the computer for me because I was playing in a pretty high league in football, like a really good team. And then when I was always very good in football, but then when I was 16, I was still really small. I was 1 meter 50 or 1 meter 55. And everyone else, when they were 16, were like 1 meter 90. So as a defender, it was becoming harder to keep up. So I was getting injuries, and the coach that we had in football, like in the winter, we had to run through the forest. Like there were no excuses with this coach. It's like so cold outside, and we had to run through the forest just to keep our condition up. I was like, fuck that, I'm done with that. And then I went to tennis, and then tennis was like, I don't know, so much physical activity. You have to like run so much. And the coach we had in tennis, playing was not the thing he was like teaching us. It was all about just getting the condition first and then playing. So I was like, okay, I'm done with the tennis coach. I was playing tennis like solo with my friend. We were just paying money to just play one-on-one all day. That was really fun. And then my parents were like, yeah, just like school is not going well. And then tennis, you also stop, do something. Like doing only half things will not get you anywhere. That was like the mentality from my brother and my parents. And then I saw Ocelot's live stream all day. Like after school, the first thing I did was watch Ocelot, Phantom Lord, and the Odd One all day till the night, and just learn and have fun. And then I was like, okay, Ocelot is doing so many mistakes. I can easily play League on this level. Like, because I was playing already like some ranked games, but I was like hard stuck in in gold or plat. It's like, okay, if I just do everything that Oslo does, I'm gonna grind. So I just copied his Galio, copied his Mordekaiser, copied his Vladimir, played mid lane, went to Diamond 1. Then I faced Ocelot and the other people. I realized mid lane is not my role because I was laning against Bjergsen. It was not fun. Yeah, like Bjergsen was like throwing me, and then I was like, okay, I really like to play Lee Sin, so I just like switched to jungle, and then I went to Challenger. So it's like, I don't know, it's just watching live streams and getting inspired. And then I was, as a kid, usually good in video games when I played it a lot, like FIFA and Call of Duty. So
yeah.
it was the perfect thing for me.
Okay, so I want to ask you kind of about your coaches, okay? Because coaches are a thing that have, like in esports, it started off being like coaches are a very odd thing in esports, especially if you look early on versus now. Coaches are very much more set in stone now than they were back in like the early days of like LCS or anything like that. But you had coaches in sports who were very, very hard and kind of like preach these fundamentals, and you kind of rebelled against that. You didn't like it. You thought, "Wow, I don't like these people." So I want to ask you kind of a little bit, and you can kind of see where this question is going. Do you have issues with coaches, or do you think that their style was bad? Like looking back now, because you're in a professional field that has coaches, right? Do you think that their coaching style was bad in the past, or do you think that it, like looking back now, wow, they actually were doing stuff that was really good?
It was really, really fucking good what they did. Like nowadays, I would love to have a coach like this in League of Legends. Like my current coach, Unrated, he's perfect. It's like strict, knows what he's talking about. Like my football coaches back then were like putting so much prior on like running and like condition. And when you become older, you start to realize that football is all about where you position yourself on the field and running to the ball and being able to run a lot. Like you like basically training fundamentals is super smart. And now I realize it. Back then I was against it. So I think there was a shift for me as well, like just becoming more mature and like using your brain more, you know.
Yes, yeah, using your brain. I like how you put that. Just use your brain, bro. Just use your brain. So, this rebellion against coaches, I have to ask. You have been on a fair amount of teams. Has this something that has changed in the last few years? Is it something that changed when you started playing League? Because obviously you've played with teams like I mentioned, SK Gaming, Unicorns of Love are probably big names people know. Minds of Esports is pretty big. Schalke, United, like all these teams are pretty big, and they've probably had a fair amount of coaching staff. Have this idea of like rebelling against coaches, when did that start to change? Because obviously now you are willing to work with a coach and you appreciate a coach, but I can't imagine even through League, like through a lot of those early on teams that you were like, oh yeah, just because of the reputation that I've heard about coaches in general for early League and people being like, these are mostly player run teams.
Yeah. The thing about coaches in esports is it's like, for me personally, I have to respect the person that is the coach in the game knowledge basis. Like I don't care how old the person is or what he did before. If he's like talking about the game that he's coaching and is smart about it, or like analyzing facts and then showing me like proof from other people, great, you know. Like I don't care who I work with, but like some coaches I worked with had strong opinions about stuff that was wrong in the game, and I wanted to play the game correctly. So of course throughout the career there were moments where you have a problem with a coach about I say I want to play it like this. Some players say we want to play like this. The coach says something different. You're not on the same page. And I think I was also wrong in many moments. So just the experience of playing for so long gave me basically so many views, like different views and experiences that nowadays I can just work with anyone, I believe. But it really helps me when my coach is like N-rated or Nif or Yamato. And like story to Giotto is like a special one because Giotto came from the Portuguese scene. And you would think to yourself back then, he's why is in the Portuguese scene? Probably maybe doesn't know the game much.
Yeah.
I met him, talked to him. He's a very intelligent guy. Like he can see things without playing. Like without playing League, he sees things that the player sees in the game. Because analyzing the game and playing the game is super different.
Yes.
Like it's really easy to be a backseat gamer, watch ELCS, and then say, "Oh, they did this and this wrong." But yeah, when you play yourself, the game looks different, and you have to respect the opponent. They respect you. You have to play smart, and it's basically like chess. So yeah, I mean, I don't know what my point is, but
no,
yeah,
you're good. You're good. One of the things I kind of wanted to ask you, you mentioned this idea of like being able to back up what you say. That's like a really important thing for you to show kind of like respect in whatever coaches that you have. Do you think a lot of coaches just go based off feelings without being able to back it up?
Yeah, it depends on the coach. Yeah.
Do you think that has to do with like the amount of resources that are out there? Because as we get better, like League of Legends has obviously improved drastically over the years with things like data analyst stuff. Like even just code being able to analyze the game has improved drastically in the last like 5 years comparative to then. Do you think it's just a matter of a lot of those different programs or different things catching up to it?
Can you repeat the question?
Yeah, yeah. Coaches doing things more based off of feelings than facts. Do you think that a part of this has to do with the fact that like data analyst stuff is just like started to get way better in the last few years?
Exactly. Yeah. Like information is much easier to get nowadays, and the coach has to be a creative person, and he has to know what to use from the information, what works on his team, because you cannot just copy the picks of the best team in the world and then expect to do the same, because usually in the highest level of play, people play Lee Sin and Thresh, and these are champs that need over 100 or 200 games, or like you need to spam them, you need experience on them. So just being able to identify what your roster can play, what your roster is good at. If your roster cannot play the way you want them to play, you need to teach them the fundamentals. And nowadays, it's probably better to have a coach that already was in the scene before. Like getting a new coach nowadays could be harder to pull off.
I was going to ask you about that. Like, obviously, having some experience is good. Do you prefer a coach that was a pro player, or is that not really a necessary thing for you?
No, like with Giotto, he came from basketball coaching, and he did a good job. Like Giotto as a person is like, you tell him something, and he understands it, and he can use it as information. This is a skill that many people can't do, like listen and then use the information. So, and Giotto is the kind of guy he can soak information and then make it even better. Get like creative ideas out of it, make a good draft out of it, know what the enemy wants to do. And then there's a player like a coach like N-rated who, I mean, N-rated is a legend. He played for so long. And then he was successful. He even knows the coaching side because he didn't really have coaches when he played. He was kind of a player coach, like not a player coach, but like every player had more responsibilities back then. About draft and stuff. So just depends on the team. If you have like many veterans, it's fine to have someone like Giotto, who's good at listening and using information from players. And then you can also have N-rated, who is like working with. I mean, I'm a veteran, but like some of my teammates are new at this level. And he can teach them the fundamentals and knows what goes on in the heads of players because he was a player. So I'm expecting many players to become coaches after their career, and I think it would be great for the league.
Okay. Do you think that a player can be a good coach? Because I like having worked with pro players, I do not think that everyone who is a player is cut out to be a coach. In fact, I would probably say that the majority of players that at least that I know of probably are not going to be good coaches, because there's that human aspect that I just don't think that they have, and I think that learning that human aspect can be really, really hard.
The thing is, yeah, it's like 50-50. If the person is like good at just speaking openly and solving problems and doesn't run away from problems, then you have to be able to take responsibility as a coach. That's what it's all about. You take the responsibility of the players, and many times the coaches get blamed from teams. It's like being a coach in any sports is not that easy. So I would expect a lot of players to become coaches. Like, I know that I will become a coach when I'm done.
I was just going to ask you, is that coaching on the horizon of Gilius? Is that something that you would like to do? And when is that point going to be there where you're like, okay, it's time for me to coach now?
So I want to be the best coach possible. So what I need in order to do that is to win a title and win major titles. And I think if I win major titles, then I could have the respect from players that I know what I'm talking about. Because I would not want to be coached by a player that speaks a lot and didn't win a title yet. Because that's everyone's goal in the LEC, to just win.
Yeah. Kind of shooting back to your high school, one of the things that, especially in esports, people talk about is like burnout, and support networks is something that I have. Do you have a strong support network back home? Obviously, you said you're from Cologne, and obviously the LCS and LEC now is located in Germany, and it's not that far away now. So do you have like a strong support system back home that you can always go to? Like, is it family? You mentioned you have a brother. Do you have one brother?
Yeah, one brother.
Okay, so is this family that you go back to when you're having a hard time? Do you have friends, anything like that? If you don't have friends, you don't have to say it. It's okay.
Yeah, I have like many friends in Cologne. And it's like sad that like this off season, I told them that when I'm in Cologne, I'm gonna spam the game all day. I'm not gonna party or go outside with you guys because I wanna make it back to the LEC.
Yeah.
And they were like understanding, but it was honestly kind of a mistake by me if I think about it. And then, yeah, my family always supports me. They're always here for me. And then,
why was it a mistake for you?
I mean, not really a mistake, but like I learned so much about the game when I spammed it, but it's like friends are really important, you know, you should take your time. Like, I was kind of selfish when I thought in a way where I have to spam the game all day to prove people that I'm good. You can spam and meet friends, like spam the game and meet friends. So I just invested all my time into solo queue. So
do you ever burn out? Like, is that something you ever like? Do you ever feel like just exhausted from doing it all? Because I mean, you've been at this for many years. Like you've been playing for over 5 years competitively now. Do you ever get like tired or burnt out from it?
Never, no.
Yeah.
Like I deal with burnout. I need like in a year, I need 1 vacation or 2 vacations, and then like maybe some sun. You know, I need sunlight. It's like when I'm under the sun, like
just feel better.
Great, you know. Yeah, I feel positive vibes, and spending time with my girlfriend helps me a lot to deal with burnout. Like, when I was playing EULCS, I was kind of feeling the burnout of the. Back then, it was like different weeks. Like there was like a super week as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
Yeah, like basically, back then I played way too much solo queue as well. So like you can burn out. It's just about understanding yourself. Like how much can you play?
Yeah.
What do you need to be happy? And then there's no burnout. Like if you sleep enough and do physical activities and talk to your parents or girlfriend, then you're fine.
Okay. Something I wanted to ask you about is kind of like relationships. Is it hard to maintain a relationship in doing this? Because I know that. So like when I worked with Gladiators and I was in LA, so I've been dating my girlfriend for 5 years now, which is quite a long time.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I know, right? We just had our 5-year anniversary on Monday. So
Awesome. Man.
yes, thank you. So, but like we do fine with long distance. We've done long distance here or there. It's not an issue for us. And I mean, the United States is pretty big, but a lot of people struggle with that, like that being long distance, and because you can't give as much time. Like very realistically, you can't give the same amount of time that you would be if you weren't if you were doing a regular job that you probably hated, and you would have more time. How do you manage that? How do you manage that time, and how do you find someone or talk with someone to make them more acceptable about that time?
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, it's actually my first ever girlfriend, and I'm
Congrats.
together with her since like I think it's like 2 years.
Wow.
And at the start, I was really against relationships because I don't know. From experience, I know that players just become worse when they have a girlfriend.
I think that there was also almost a stigma where everyone was like, you can't be in a relationship.
Yeah, exactly. It was kind of true, honestly. Some players, they would get a girlfriend, they would perform so bad. Mm-hmm. And then I found a person that is understanding of my job and told me, I have my own life as well. I have nothing to do with esports. You do your thing, I do my thing. And, it's like a trust relationship. I trust her a lot, she trusts me. And when we meet, it's great. And like having a long distance relationship has some nice things about it. It's like when you meet each other, it becomes really special. It's like nice when you meet each other every day, then it can become like you get used to each other, you know? So I would rather see her every day, honestly, but just got to deal with it.
So being independent and being sufficient in that level of trust is kind of what makes it work. Does that give you something that helps you then? Because I know a lot of people think, like, for some people relationships do hurt because they get over like infatuated with it, right? That becomes like their main priority, and that's not really the way to look at a relationship, right? Because we should be supporting each other, not you are my like crack drug that I need for everything. So is that something that you can now utilize to help you push further?
I think so, yeah. It's like, it's a nice, I don't know, like, how do I explain this? Pretty bad at this.
That's okay.
So, basically, when I would be in a season, I would get burned out. I would go home, see my parents and my brother, and then I would feel refreshed, like getting some love, for the soul, I do believe. And now I have a girlfriend, and when I see her, then I feel the same. So it definitely helps me. And yeah, if I keep spamming the game while having a girlfriend, which I'm doing always, so then it will not hurt me.
Yeah.
And I make her life better. She makes my life better. I like it.
That's good. So one of the things, this is a new side of like Gilius, like this soft and tender side. Has this always been there? Has this like just always been lurking in the background, not seen by the world? Because I like all the stuff on you online is definitely not. Oh, like Gilius is a soft and caring and compassionate person. He's like, well, you're garbage, right? Like that's what the internet thinks.
I mean, yeah, I'm a family person, but I don't like to.
Yeah.
I don't like to speak too much about my real life online. I think, like this show is nice because it's the whole purpose of it.
Yeah.
And if people are interested, they can watch it. But there's no reason to be soft to the enemy junglers,
Oh no, I don't be compassionate with them. Kill them. Like
they don't fucking deserve that.
So your brother, what's the age gap between you and your brother?
He's 5.5 years older than me.
Oh, so you were the little brother.
Yeah.
Were you a little shit? Were you like a pain in his ass all the time?
Yeah.
You were?
Yeah. I was like, I'm very competitive. So I would like piss him off a lot because we would play video games against each other and I would not stop asking till I could beat him. And then when I found a way to beat him in any video game, I would like make fun of him, be disrespectful when I beat him. And yeah, it's like, I was probably really annoying as a little kid.
Did that relationship ever change, or did you guys grow close for that, like that competition?
Yeah, now it's so different. Back then I was trying to piss him off all the time, and he would like try to ignore me. And now it's like we're really good friends and support each other. Like he's like a businessman now. I'm an esports athlete, and yeah, he loves to support me. And whatever I do, I support him as well. Give him some tips in his business side, because I have seen a lot of business things in esport that could help him. And it's like a like best friends relationship, honestly. Like we talk in a week. I call him once. We talk about everything. He tells me his life. I tell him mine.
So looking at the business of esports, how has that evolved over the years? Because obviously it has changed drastically in 5 years. But what does that evolution look like for people on the outside kind of looking in?
Yeah, I mean, definitely there's more money nowadays in it. You can live from it. It's a career path that you can actually choose, where you don't have to like on the side do school or study to have a backup plan. And I mean, yeah, everything is so professional now.
I was going to ask the kind of the professionalism. So teams, like I'm imagining when you were first starting, were more player run. Would that be a correct statement that teams really kind of ran teams when you were first starting off?
Oh, yeah. I think I ran most of my teams.
Okay, so that's not the case anymore, though, right? Like it's just like I think of like the LEC and like right now, and I can't think of any teams that if they are player run, they're doing a very good job not showing that they're player run just because you have franchising.
I mean, I think nowadays it's not good to have a player ran team, because players are always biased.
Yeah,
and a coach sees the whole picture. So you need to have a coach who can analyze different situations and teach the team something they don't know. You know,
yeah,
like there will be many times when Reddit tells me something, I'll be like, wait, this must be wrong. Like thinking this, and then he will explain it, and it makes sense because he spectated the game and I played it. So yeah, like definitely it will hurt the top teams who like mostly it's like where's player bias, they will never be super successful. You need to have a really good coach and a good roster.
One of the things that kind of has changed since you started playing is obviously we have a franchise system now. Do you think that the franchise system, because I remember early on, like everyone was for a franchise system. Just because it seems like the stability would just be so good. And someone who works in mental health, I always thought that, oh, if we get franchising, teams will be able to invest more money in caring about their players. I crucially forgot the business aspect that you could cut bottom lines as well, because I am naive. And that's what I feel like happens a lot of time now is people are just like, oh, we're safe. We can cut our bottom line and we can just save a ton of money. But that being said,
it sucks.
Do you think that the franchise system, like looking back now, hindsight 2020, because you promoted a lot of teams, like what, 2 or 3 teams you got promoted? Like you were in promotions or got promoted?
I promoted 2 teams, yeah. Like unicorns, I mean, I didn't promote anything. Chachi and Hilisang and Power of Evil. My roster was unbalanced. And then,
but you were on a few teams. That's what I mean. It's like if anyone can be like, oh yeah, this relegation system, I did pretty good at getting teams in there, on paper at least. So looking back, do you think that the franchise system is a net positive, or do you think that there's a lot of negatives to it now, considering that you've gotten to see it for a couple years now? I think it's 2.
Yeah, I was for the franchise system, of course, because there's only positives for the players.
Yeah.
And that's what matters the most, right? But yeah, when I'm not in the league, then there's many cons as well. I would like to play in the league. I can promote to the league. So yeah, I think the best players of our region are not represented in our league, in our franchise league, which is wrong. Like there's some teams that are not even never contesting for top 6 and just staying in and just chilling. So
do you think that's because of like poor scouting? Do you think that's because of politics? Why do you think that is that teams do not get the best talent? Because I know in Overwatch, at least, there isn't very much scouting at all. Like I know 2 people who actually do scouting, kind of like scouting work, and it's just non-existent otherwise. So what do you think the reason is?
Terrible scouting. Like I don't think it can be politics. It just must be terrible scouting. Like back in the days, I would get picked up by teams, and then the guy would tell me, I spectated all your solo queue games, and damn, you're pretty fucking good. We're happy to have you here. And then if I would have to imagine some junglers in the league, they just get in because they just get, like, I don't know, like it has nothing to do with, not much to do with performance nowadays. You just try to poor scouting and politics, yeah, both of it. Like, I don't know how to answer this question. It just sucks.
Yeah, so that's fine. So as like before, you could have tried to get a team and promote in. In fact, that's what you did, like a few times, right? Yeah. Now you're in a situation where that's not really possible. So it's not a solution anymore. You can't just put together any old team. You can't just play. Looking on the outside in, coming from this older system that seemed to promote talent, like looking at it now, how do you work to get into the pro league? Because it sounds like you're praying that someone scouts you, and there might not be scouts, or it's by who you know, possibly.
You have to just. I know that many people in the amateur leagues think they deserve to play in the LEC, and they think they will do well there, but they would get absolutely destroyed. That's what I know, because I faced the LEC junglers and I faced them as well. So you should become good at the game, very good. And if you're like outperforming most players in their role, like how did Nemesis get in? He just got signed, right? Like he just gonna be a top 3 player in your role and in solo queue. Prove people in scrims that you're worthy. And then that's the way in. And you have to pray that people actually watch the games, because holy moly, what the fuck happened in the scouting system last year? Like, EU was not that strong this year. I'm not gonna lie. EU was that Rogue puts in a rookie team and they almost go to, like, not go to Worlds, but they went to semifinals. That's an absolute disaster. Like a roster like Misfits. That team has so much talent, and then some things just blow my mind. I don't want to speak too openly about it.
So I will say, at least in Overwatch, so Misfits also has a team in Overwatch. They're called the Florida Mayhem. That team has... If you think the Misfits in LEC does bad, you should see their team in Overwatch. It is... it's pretty bad. Oh yeah, it's also, so I'm imagining, based on the fact that they have 2 franchise league issues with their rosters, it's got to be something with management. Like,
I mean, they should just hire someone who actually watches the games. Get someone who watches Overwatch and someone who watches League.
Yeah.
Because they are Challenger Series team with like Leader and Dandan, Kirei. It's much like they were playing better. And I think Gorilla is fucking great. Hans Sommer is great. Soaz is great. Maxlaw, depends on the team, is a good player. And then just form a roster where people actually want to play with each other. Like, I can't imagine what happened in this team. Like, with these names, so much experience.
Do you think it's the human element? Do you think that maybe, because that's an element that doesn't really get talked about a whole ton, is like, there is this option of like finding really good players, but then getting all those players to work together, right? Like that's something else that is like entirely different, right? Because actually, one of the things I don't like to compare esports to sports very much, mostly because of the cultural aspect that sports has to get to the professional play and the cultural aspect that esports has to get to the professional play. They're completely different. In sports, for example, for most sports, except for solo sports, you have to learn to work together. It's a crucial, like you're taught that if you do not work together, they will just get rid of you. Like, unless you are like insanely good, but you still have to work together to a certain degree, right? In esports, it's very much you're solo until you're on a team, and then you are kind of forced to work together, right?
Exactly, yeah.
So maybe it's that human element kind of looking at these teams, and teams haven't figured out how do we actually start to teach this human element. Kind of a thought. So
it's an interesting thought. Yeah, some coaches can do it and some can't, I guess. I'm not sure what happened in this team.
It's definitely been interesting. So let's jump back to you. I want to kind of jump back to you a little bit here. You've obviously played for a number of teams and had a number of coaches. If you had to pick your top 3 coaches and why, who would you pick? Kind of curious.
Top 3 coaches and why?
Yeah.
I mean, if I put in rated in, I work with him since 1 week. I would put him top 3 for sure, but let's exclude him for now.
Okay.
I think Yamato was great.
What makes Yamato so good?
Yamato there were like key elements about the game that I didn't understand that well around other lanes, like macro on bot lane, macro on top lane, macro on mid lane, because I'm a jungler. So the way he speaks about the game, it's really easy to understand it, and I learned a lot about the game from him. And then Giotto was like also very, very good coach for me, because he instantly knew how I am as a person, and he knew how to work with me. Like I'm the kind of player, if you're my coach, then it's always good if you just work together with me, because I'm only here to win. There has been some coaches who thought they have to work against me, and that's not how it works. That's not how you win. It's all about just giving info to each other and making the best thing out of it, you know? And if people like Giotto, I could criticize easily. He would criticize me. It was a very healthy relationship. I like to be criticized and learn from things. So yeah, Giotto was great. He's also very intelligent, so that helps. Third one, very hard. I mean, I took away so much from every coach. There was like, from Nif, I also learned a lot about lane swaps. He was a lane swap king, but now lane swaps are gone. But I
miss lane swaps.
Yeah. Lane swaps, I mean, not so much. It's fine like this. It's better like this, trust me.
I liked watching lane swaps. They just were so cool to watch.
You could just make food and chill a bit, and then yeah.
So.
Yeah, lane swaps. There's still some fundamentals about lane swap that he taught me that I can still use to this day from Nif. And then it's close between Nif and Sheepy, because Sheepy actually knew stuff about the jungle that I didn't really think about back then, like about certain champion like picks. And I mean, if you think about unicorns and you study jungle picks, trust me, Sheepy has these ideas. Sometimes they're very good, sometimes they can also fail. Like the Udyr from Kiki's was fucking good, and then the Gnar jungle from Kiki's, not so good. So you have to filter the ideas. But like usually it's really good to have like a coach that has creative ideas, and then as a player you need to make a decision what's good and what's bad.
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense. So kind of looking at the teams that got franchised, do you think that, so like obviously when the franchise league happened, Unicorns of Love was an example of a team that didn't make it, H2K, do you think that the teams that did get selected were mostly good? Or do you think that maybe like Unicorns of Love probably should have been saved? I think theirs was financial though, why they couldn't stay. H2K's came out and said, at least from Rich, that it's not a viable transaction. I don't know how much they were actually interested, or they got told no. So, but are you happy with most of the teams that are in the LEC as far as the organizations?
I think so, yeah. I think it's good like this. Maybe in the future we can have like Real Madrid and Barcelona, or maybe Arsenal or Manchester United or Man City. I would not mind these teams in our league, but for now, I think we're good to go. Yeah.
Okay, that's fair. So one of the things I want to ask you is after you got done with Team Vitality, you went to Turkey. What was the reason for going to Turkey? Because obviously you're playing for a German team now. I've heard that Turkey has a ton of money. I will say, like, I've heard from other sources that Turkey can shell out dollar bills. But you're playing for a German team now. What made you want to go back to Turkey? Your family, you did mention, was from Turkey.
Yeah, so the league was in Istanbul, and most of my, like, so I have two family sides, my father's side, my mom's side. My mom's side is in Ankara, and my father's side is in Istanbul. So, and the family of my father's side, I was very close to them always. So I thought to myself, like, I don't know, my father and brother told me the salary they're offering is very nice. You get to live in Istanbul. It's a different experience. It's better than doing nothing.
Yeah.
That was the mindset, because I don't want to stop playing. Like, I want to be active. Like, I'm so young. I have so much energy. I can just, whatever league wants me, I just go there. So first thing I did was seeing my grandmother that I didn't see for like 6 or 7 years. And she's becoming very old now. So it was very nice.
What was that like, seeing her? Yeah. Like getting to see her again after 6 years. What was that experience like?
I mean, should I just go into detail? Like,
yeah. See, other people don't like to hear the detail. I want as much detail as possible.
I mean, when, like, the thing is, she invited like the whole family to eat a dinner there. And all the memories came back. You know, I was kind of too emotional moments. I don't like it when it's too emotional. It's like these people were like taking care of me when I was a little kid, and now I'm a grown-up man. But like, it's not much has changed. You know, they're still the same people. It's such a weird feeling when you like meet them again, because I'm so different, and then they didn't change. I was like, I mean, I really enjoyed it. It was fucking great to see them all. But it was weird. Would not do every day, seeing the whole family all together. It's like, it's great one time, but I think I could not handle this forever, you know.
Too much emotions going on there?
Too many emotions. I mean, we were sitting there, and then they made a video chat with the grandmother. No, like, the mother of my grandmother. She's still alive. She's super old. And I had to start crying when I saw her, because, I mean, I don't know. It's just, yeah, it's hard to speak about it. Let's just go next topic, I think.
Okay. If that's what you want, that's okay. So looking at finishing up and leaving Turkey, you obviously come back to the EU and you're working with Ad Hoc Gaming. What was it like getting into Ad Hoc Gaming? You know, what kind of made you really want to play for them?
Ad Hoc, I mean, it's a perfect org for me.
Is
like
it?
A German org. Yeah, it's perfect. Because the guy who takes care of us is called Jakub Jim. Jim is his name in social media. He's Turkish and German, like me. So we're like, he understands my troubles. I understand his. We have a lot of fun. We laugh a lot. It's like a big brother here for me. And then my teammates, my analyst, our analyst, our coach, my mid laner, like, most of us are German. So speaking German is also natural for me. So it just feels really nice to be here. And we have a great gaming center here. I have my own room. And yeah, I just have everything that I need, and I can perform to my best ability.
So you mentioned that your goal is to get back into the LEC, or well, I mean, it used to be LCS, but now it's LEC, to get back into the pro league. Okay. Getting back there, would you take offers from like other teams in other regions? Or is it like, I'm basically going to stay with this team until I get into LEC? I know a lot of people have turned down NA offers just because they feel like EU is the superior region as far as like competition. Are you one of those people who is like, I really want to be in the best competitive league? Or are you a person who's like, you know what, if a team from NA, if Golden Guardians makes me an offer, I would consider it?
Yeah, so I went to NA before and I fucking loved it. It was great. Mm-hmm. But I would like to play in EU the next years because I feel like I'm gonna turn 23 in January. Mm-hmm. I'm getting to my peak, you know, and I'm gonna be one of the older players in the league. I feel like I can play this game for a long time, so because my ambitions are so high.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'd rather just stay in EU the next years. I want to play in the LEC 220. I hope this off season has mercy on me. My contract, I mean, my owner allows me to talk to owners.
Yeah.
And just because like my buyout is like not extremely high.
Yeah.
It's like he told me when I joined the team, I told him, if I get an LEC offer, would you let me go? And he said, of course. Like everyone's goal is to get to the first division. And so yeah, I told him I'm gonna win you everything, and then this is gonna be it. Okay, we will see what happens. Honestly, if I get no offer, I'm just gonna win a EU Masters with the team. But yeah, right now, I would really like to play in the LEC.
Okay. Did you have so obviously when you left Team Vitality said that like you asked them to reach out to top teams to see if that they would consider you. Did that ever progress into anything further? Was that ever something? Or do you have teams that are reaching out to you like during the off season that you at least trialed for? Or because that, I won't lie, from the outside looking in, that seems like politics. Like as far as like, oh yeah, we're gonna reach out for you. Like I don't know how you do it. Like my anxiety would be off the wall trusting someone else to reach out for me, just because a lot of times people just don't do it. Like it's just not worth the hassle, right?
I mean, I can just make a shortcut.
Yeah.
Kikis came in. Kikis did well. I said, can I go to another team? They said yes. Got an offer from another team. LEC organization. And then
something happened.
They didn't come to an agreement. That's how it is. I'm on the contract, you know, like.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's it. And then that's it.
That's fair.
That's it with Vitality.
I mean, that's fair. That business side, I think people forget about that a lot, that business side is still important. You mentioned that you've learned a lot of things, business, that you've helped like your brother's business. What are some of the main things that you've learned from being in the esports scene that you were able to kind of take back to your brother and like help him out with things? What are things that you've seen or learned that you think are important for other people to learn?
So he told me, like, before he got his job that he has right now, like a pretty good job, he had like basically you get to meet the owner, and then you have to basically present yourself, present what you did in your past. And he told me, oh man, this guy is a multi-millionaire. You think he's gonna like ask me hard questions, or like not really? Like we just talked like casually. He was like, my brother anyway, like he's the business master, you know. And then I just told him some tips, like whatever he's trying to do, just stay confident and just be honest. And he said, yeah, of course. Yeah, he did it. And he said, he told me everything the owner told him. And it was very interesting. It's like, these business people think really differently than normal people. And it's very interesting for me to see. Yeah, I just try to give you some tips in there.
Do you think we need that more in esports? Because I won't lie, like looking on the outside, looking in, like you see like you think about like how teams are making money and stuff like that. Do we need more business people in esports? Is that a necessity, you think?
Yeah, why not?
I think it's a fair response.
But it must be people who actually want to learn about esports. Yeah. Such a different thing, and it shouldn't all become about money either. I think it's nice the way it is right now. Okay. Just when franchising came in and all, like when it all becomes about money and this and this, poaching rules, and in the end of the day, it's about competing and just the better team wins, and you don't have to always gamble for the highest salary for your life, you know.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's a fair assessment, kind of looking at that. Poaching rules were always interesting because, like, I just don't know how you monitor that, because it seems like, I mean, poaching is an issue in like anything that involves that poaching rule. It seems like there's always like issues with it. Like, I don't know, it's just a very odd thing, because it always seems
in traditional sports there's no such thing as poaching.
Yeah.
Players, agents can talk to anyone. Players can talk to anyone. But in esports, oh man, yeah, it's pretty strict.
It is. I just don't know how you kind of follow through with it. So kind of looking at you and moving forward, how long do you think it's gonna be till people can expect you back in the LEC? Like, what's your time frame that your goal setting is? I plan on making LEC. Is it the off season? Do you expect to replace some junglers from the LEC that aren't very good?
I'm playing the German league right now.
Yep.
The ESLM. I think if I can get good results with my team, then I would see no excuses from the teams to not pick me up, because they should know by now that I'm on this level. And if people want to win internationally, they can also sign me. So yeah, 220 should be the time frame. And
220.
If not, then 221. We will see. I have time.
That's fair. On the plus note, like, your loss of reaction speed per year is actually not that much until like after a certain age, and I think it's like 24, and it's only like 0.05 milliseconds you lose a year. So
honestly, like, I'm gonna play till I'm like 30,
40,
32,
30,
33. I think 33 I might become a coach, but yeah.
Okay. Do you ever foresee yourself not in esports? Is that a world that you can imagine? Like, what would you be doing? Like, let's say that, is there anything else in the world that like gives you passion, or you're super interested in, that you could be like, yeah, you know, I could see leaving esports for this?
Only other sports, like football, tennis.
Okay.
But like, nah, not another esports, because I've seen it all.
Is that because you crave the competition? Is that what like draws you to those things?
I fucking love competition. It's all about just winning, man. Winning drives me.
Okay.
I love winning, and I hate losing. So I've always been like this. I'm not like a bitter loser, but in whatever I lose, I'm upset. If I lose in table tennis to my analyst, then I'm pissed. If I beat him, then I'm happy. So if I win in solo queue, I'm happy. If I'm lose, I'm pissed. And then back in the day, I would be pissed for a long time, but now I just try to learn what went wrong. But then I play table tennis again against my analysts, and I think I fixed my mistakes.
They beat you again.
And then I realized maybe we should take a break from table tennis for the next days.
I like the analogy. I like the analogy with table tennis.
Right here, so
I know. Yeah.
Probably smiling right now, but like, yeah,
probably.
Just competition is, that's great.
Nice. Well, to be honest, I have one last question for you. I'm almost done. I have one last question. We went through a lot. I had fun. I don't know if you had fun. If you didn't, too bad.
I mean, it was like a therapy for me, man. You asked me about things that I never talk about. So.
Yeah, that's good. That means I did my job well. So I'm tired of seeing interviews with the same question, because they just bore me. So, and I go through like all of your interviews that you've ever done. So I try not to ask the same questions. My last question, which is a very stereotypical question, having had the experience being on here, okay, it being very unique. If you could see anyone being on here, they have to speak English, because I don't speak other languages, even though you speak 3. I only speak English, and they have to be involved in esports in some capacity. Who would you like to see on the show?
I think Dardoc would be very interesting.
Dardoc.
You know Dardoc?
Oh, yes, I do. Yep.
I think Dardoc would be one of the best guests, yeah. For this.
I would love to. I would love to have Dardoc.
I would be very interested about his life.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or who's another one? I think Perks. But I think Perks is kind of hard to book because the guy is a international superstar.
Yeah.
Traveling a lot. Yeah.
I think that's fair. So that's all the questions that I had for you. Thank you so much for being on the show. I really appreciate it. I had a lot of fun. If you want any shout outs, you're more than welcome to throw them out now. I don't normally give them, but if you want them, you can have them.
Oh, thank you. No, I don't need a shout out. Just
okay.
Thanks for watching, and yeah, it was fun to be here.
Okay. Thank you so much for being on the show. For everyone out there, this has been Deep Dives in the Minds of Esports. My name is Blake Panashevitz, and until next time, I hope you all have a wonderful day.